India Roundtable, the producer's voice. Our moderator is a very renowned Jayaprakash Rengarajan, Chief Executive Officer all around globe.
Thanks to IIFTC and Harshad, my friend, to give us this opportunity. Okay, we straight jump into the topic because there is a big, huge timer in front of me. Thanks. We will maintain the timing. So basically what we are doing is we no longer consider Indian movies as tagged as like Bollywood movies. Okay, it's become a more content oriented, which language doesn't matter. The content and the subject is become the hero, then the region right now. So I'm so happy to moderate this wonderful evening. We have from Telugu, Tamil, Bengali industry, people associated with us. It's important for us to understand like 1,000 crore or 2,000 crores or up till Bahubali did like 4,500 and plus the part 2. So we are looking at numbers which are like, not an easy to digest point of view. Like, okay, a lot of movies are coming in a situation where the breakthrough happens based on the subject, based on the story. Kantara, for example, from a regional Kannada region, coming and doing so wonderfully well. And before, we used to dub Hindi movies and watch them on other languages. Now it's another way around. Like RRR did wonderfully well across the country, and the first ever Indian movie for a music video to become the Oscar winner. So there is a various aspect of filmmaking. Before we came in here, we were speaking about COP, cost of production. So what's happening is, unfortunately, fortunately, it's filming abroad is cheaper than filming in India in many manner for us, because the crew size is very smaller and doubles up the work. There is a lot of like in terms of timing and output, productivity becomes more precise for within the time limit we need to finish and come out. Okay, so we have Mr. Nishant here from Leica, who was done a big number size movies in terms of budget, like 100 crores, 200 crores. What would be your experience? How do you want to describe like where we should plan on the COP, and what is your opinion on filming abroad versus filming in India?
Thank you, sir. Thank you again to IIFTC for this. This is actually a really important conversation, I think, that we need to have, because before I started coming to IIFTC, we did do a lot of like foreign shoots, but it wasn't organized. We didn't really have the kind of relationships that we wanted. And then now that we've actually fostered those relationships, and our involvement or rather our participation in IIFTC played a huge role in this. Now we've been to Europe. We were in Baku in Azerbaijan recently. So we're thinking of going to other countries like Thailand. In fact, Sri Lanka is another major location for us where, as we were discussing earlier, we ended up setting up our own production company in Sri Lanka because we were going there so often to film. Right? And now we are actually producing completely Sri Lankan films for the Sri Lankan market. And in terms of the COP, the cost of production that we were discussing earlier, one alarming trend that's happening in Indian cinema right now is the cost of your actors is going up, beyond control. So we are now forced to, we are put in a position where now we have to go abroad for two reasons. One, it reduces our cost significantly if we are able to control it properly and if we have the right relationships there. Two, for us in the South Indian industry especially, we need to now go to places where the actor won't be bothered, right? Like with some of the actors that we work with right now, just a simple scene as them eating chips at a beach is impossible to film in India, right? We've had to go to, I won't mention the movie, but there's one movie where I had to CG a beach, right? Because we couldn't actually take the actor to the beach because it was a nightmare. It was a complete nightmare to deal with. I think for us, we've been now setting up, I keep using the word relationships over and over again, because there are times when we've been abroad where then that cost ended up ballooning out of control as well. So it's like a double-edged sword. It's kind of like a tightrope walk for us in production, where if you go abroad with the right relationships, then it's much cheaper than it would be here. But if you go abroad without the right relationships, then it ends up being far more expensive. So that's another thing I'm looking forward to learning from the panel as well.
So that's from a big budget producer. So let's move into a more planned, structured industry, which is Bangla industry. So I was speaking to Abhishek Dada. Basically, he's created a new trend, filming abroad, but much cheaper than filming in India. So would you like to share your experience?
Hi, good evening. So yeah, we regional producers, we've got limited budget. We're not 100 crore movie budget that we have, it's very important for us to plan our resources, plan our schedules, plan our, trips, plan our recce accordingly, so that, we can control cost. And the most important thing that I feel whenever I have shot abroad, I've shot extensively all around the globe, it's the professional approach of people that we have got from shooting abroad is something exceptional. Which is not in India. Very sorry to say I'm an Indian, but I have to admit that whatever is being committed to us is something that we all normally always get. So that's something very appreciable. Obviously, you plan your shoots accordingly with your plan A. You don't need to go to a plan B or plan C, and you finish your shoots in budget. You finish your shoots in time, and you are happy, and everyone is happy around it. So, we are one of the producers probably in India that we shot twice in Amazon, which is something very big for a regional movie, like spending a budget of 30 crores for us is like really huge. Normally movie budgets are around 3.5 crores. So when we went over there, obviously we were looking at, Anaconda. That was the only movie that we had in mind when you were shooting in Amazon or whatever. But it was just amazing to see how people supported us. They went out of the way. They were so emotional about an Indian movie coming and, shooting with them. And it was a very wonderful experience. So, example, I shot in Sweden, and I was happy to get so much of help from the film commissioner over there back in 2013-14. So that's something, we as film producers from India, we obviously want, that local support and that professional output, the approach, so that we are able to plan our shoots much more better. And as my friends say, when we go abroad, we have a lot of expectations, we don't have to worry about our actors moving, freely wherever they want to go, wherever we want to shoot, whether it's a marketplace, whether it's a train station, whether it's a beach, as you said, but in India, we can't do that. So obviously the cost of Indian production, shooting in India also gone really, really, really high. So as a matter of fact, when we plan our shoots abroad better, if we can have a good planning, we'll be able to reduce cost and save the cost of the movie and get a better product. Right.
So from Abhishek, I found something, I learned something new today. What he says is, recently they are producing a movie in Bangladesh, which he feels, one, it's virgin locations. So he set his own rule there. And in terms of locations, everything is easy accessible. So which is something I think we should just look into for Indian movies to reset their trend of abroad is not only going very far or high-rise buildings or all those stuff. It's adopting your script into where it is available, like Sri Lanka for most of our, maybe it can match Kerala or it can match most of the South Indian cities, and also Bangladesh can be completely copied for entire Bengal. And moving on to Sir Arshid, so what's your opinion on, you open the trend for New Zealand? I think after COVID, you're the only company to take people abroad. What is it you need to, you want to express about planning? I know we had some struggles and whatever.
We faced a lot of struggle when we opened up for the New Zealand, because we only went through the film commission from there. So we got the right channel, right people, but working hours, like I said the working hours were like 10 hours, but we are used for 12 hours. So you keep paying more. So how do you tackle that issue? And you rightly brought up that you have to put the vendor forward and then talk to them for 12 hours. So that was one major issue I faced. Second one was like certain countries have, like Australia has a very typical rule. They have the transit visa. Because of that, half my crew was cut off. So I have to reroute people and take. So such issues I faced for that film. So from that I have understood that, okay, I have to look for channels now. So every time I send my cousins out, they go to the country, I say just go meet the film commission, get their cards for me. So I want to have the right channel to go. So when they said IIFTC is doing this, so I liked it. I missed last year. Through IIFTC, I got one channel was for Africa. I got for Janu. We shot entirely in Africa, the first song. So it was Hemal Shah from IIFTC only. He put his setup here. We took his contact. He did it at a very good cost and at whatever limit we wanted it. And he provided the right crew to us. So the same contact I shared today with the Rajamouli's son for their film, for what they want to do in Africa. So like that, if we can find right people, then it will help us in saving money, planning things, and going to the right channels. And especially post this, I also have one more thing is that I want to know the technicians who are good in that country also. So why should I carry my technicians from here? I could actually use a technology or a shot which is much far better. They can take it for me. So these are the things, if we can find out and put in one table, then we'll be able to interact with the right talents to make things happen in short time with effective of usage of money. That is what I felt with what I faced through.
So I filmed Bengal Tiger with Radha Mohan in Switzerland. So we were discussing very interesting topic today. Those days we could manage with 30 people from India, 35 people. Wherein today it has become almost impossible to shoot with such a less crew. Okay, so what is your opinion? How do we change this back to 35 or we have to go to 100 again?
You have to change means it's in the hand of the producers only. The producers have to actually tighten their belts, plan properly, and actually convince the people, artists, you don't need to take 5 people along with you. 3 people are enough. Or we can have a common makeup team or a common costume team and all like that. So it is how you convince the artists and technicians. Suppose the camera is taking the 5 assistants, tell them no, 3 are there. If you want, we can add 1 or 2 locally. So that is how we can reduce the crew. But the main thing actually is shooting abroad. Prima facie, as JP says, it is cheap, provided there are things that we need to take care of. One is the correct line producers. So we need to have the line producers who understand what we want to do, and they should have experience in doing that thing. Then another thing is language. So language barrier. So most of our technicians may not be very good in English or maybe good only in Indian local languages. So we need to have a communication system which each one understands what other one is telling. Then when you are going abroad to a country, you need to see the weather pattern. People just plan ahead, not knowing what weather is going to be. They are not prepared for winter, or maybe it is rainy season. You end up losing a lot of money and maybe coming back and going again, and etc., etc., etc. So these are actually some of these things we have to plan properly, and budgeting is most important. So before you go, you need to know what you want to do, how many days you want to shoot, what are the crew you want, what help you need from the local support, what sort of budget you have got, and discuss thoroughly, and then probably keep a contingency. Of course, it not be contingency not more than 5%. If it is 10, 20, 30%, then budgeting will never work. So that is most important. Whenever you go abroad, you need to have a proper budgeting and try to control. Wherever it goes out of control, then stop then and there and discuss. Discuss with the local producer, discuss with your current team, existing team, then only the producer can produce the movie within the allocated budget. Otherwise, most of the failures I see in the industry is actually budget failures. The content may be good, artists are good, technicians are good, but budget is bad. So, right now, the situation is quite tough selling movies. So, controlling budget is very, very, very important.
So basically, from the Indian producers' point of view, what our request to all the line producers who are present here. Okay, so there is a trend which I film mostly in Europe. I'm based out of Europe. So we start talking to people on Hollywood standard. No, we want our Indian standard. Our requirement is 12 hours. Give us budget based on 12 hours. Okay, we are more, yes, we go a little overboard when our directors gets excited. We don't want to break for lunch. Yes, we agree for French hour, everything is done. But we would like to set a trend of 12 hours or at least 11 plus 1 should be the common base. What I feel it should be workable. Second thing is planning, which is very, 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 very important. We need to go, that may cost you a little more money for planning. Go in advance, plan your routes well. How are you going to get in? What is your airline which you're going to choose? Which airline is giving you the best deal? Everything has to be planned well in advance. Once you get into the last minute, then it becomes a little discomfort for all ends. Of course, the local partners and from our side, budget gets increased, then it gets into a discomfort situation. We don't want to get into all that stuff. Happily come and shoot. Yes, it is a very tedious job, which we cannot are discounting that, Indian movies are very easy to film. There are plan keeps changing as well, so weather is another aspect. So we try to understand this point of view of, I also spoke about this last year. One of the highest revenue giving industry is our industry. We are coming abroad to film for say 8 to 10 days. We end up spending almost 200,000-300,000 euros. I'm talking from Euro point of view. So we give local manpower, hotels are getting benefited, locations, equipments. So there is a lot of turnover happens for the country, and of course, whatever we need to achieve, we will achieve and come back. So I would like to summarize now, after that we move on to a question answer session, that planning is very important, and also keeping the trend of what is our requirement from the producer's point of view. We need to put forward very clearly, okay, we want a cost for 11 plus 1. Then a Saturday, Sunday, double pay, all this stuff will come into picture. So any questions, you can start.
So when you guys are producing your content, how much into consideration does come the tax credit that some of the countries are offering?
Depends upon country to country. There are some sets of rules and regulations in each country. Like Portugal, we were getting up till 30% till last year. So now their criteria has changed. Now Italy gives 40%. Fiji was giving 50%. But the travel and the distance were into another thing. And UK, we had up till 25 plus the VAT refund. It cuts up till 40% approximately. This does play a major role in our movie making planning. And the more rebate giving countries are the ones who are getting benefited more.
About these rebates and all, sometime for me it looks like a myth actually. Why? If you are choosing rebate, then you have certain rules to follow in that country. You should engage only certain employees at certain tariff, certain rate. So same thing, if you just try to negotiate, I'm sure you will be able to get about 20 to 25% discount on the particular rate. So if some country is giving 25% discount and you are paying 25% more, so end of the result is zero. So this is where probably some of these countries who actually try to encourage by giving rebate have to be practical on rates of technicians, rate of the equipment, etc., so that it is fair to the producers, so that rebate really works for us. Otherwise, we just think, oh, there is a rebate, but end of the day, probably there is not much gain for a producer. So that is probably most of the film commissions and all should take care of. At least, when the rebate means producer really gets something benefit out of it.
Yeah, no. So as a one-time process, right? In my experience, usually the rebate does play a huge role. Now, let's say I'm trying to convince my backers or my financiers to go to a particular location, right? So we have A versus B. So there, initially at the conceptualization stage, the rebate is like a very positive thing that we can put forth. But like what Sir said, at the end of the shoot, sometimes we are like, was that rebate really worth it for all the things that we actually had to go through to get that rebate? So that's where again a trusted person that we have there who can keep us informed, even adding into Sir's earlier point about the budgeting and the planning. These are things that we need to take into account even at the planning stage of what we forego for the rebate, right? Sometimes it may be worth it, sometimes it may not be worth it. So when we first go in there, the rebate seems to play a role in that decision-making process. But for a continued relationship, there's just, I don't know, in my experience, it hasn't played as much of a role as it does in us first getting in there.
Hi. Yeah. My question is for any one of the panelists, any two of the panelists, especially Sir, because you brought it up. Kabir here from the Free Press Journal. You mentioned about the rising cost of the entourage. Like every actor or actress, there are about 10, let's say the staff which is there. There's one to hold the coffee mug or whatever. So how do you sort of negotiate with him and come on a playing level? Any one of the panelists can answer this really.
That is actually a difficult task though, but probably I think from convincing them, talking to them, talking about the budgets of the movies, what revenues you are getting. So the end result is the artists should continue to act, the producers should continue to produce. So if they have to do both, probably each one has to leave the other. So that is how probably we'll have to convince them to reduce their overheads and come to reasonable, I mean, we do understand they need staff, but they don't need so many staff. So that is what probably, it is also when we have an interaction with the artists, probably we can tell them what are the problems. Maybe just communicate with them, try to convince them, try to request them, probably you can reduce that way.
Maybe you should make the actor as a partner at the movies. That should be the best possible.
I think that's the easiest way actually.
That's the easiest way, I think.
But the producers do need to take some of the blame for that. We were actually talking about it before the conference, right? There is a certain kind of, we bid against each other for some of these actors. Earlier you were talking about the actor has somebody to hold their coffee mug, right? Yeah, an umbrella. Now even that is okay, but now the way it's going, the coffee mug guy has his own coffee mug guy who has to give him the coffee,
and someone to put the sugar on.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's an entourage for each of the entourage members. So it's something that we need to take responsibility for actually.
Okay, so we ran out of time. Sir, one last question. Yes, sir.
Right.
That's.
I had got coming back to your foreign shooting, the main concern was about visas, JP.
I was about to talk about that.
That was our main concern, especially how do we, last minute changes, how it is. We plan to take a certain assistant and that assistant doesn't come, and then there's a last minute change, of the assistant as far as ticketing is concerned and the visas are concerned. Which countries are the easiest to get visas? You forget about the subsidy and all that all
Sir, I would like
the money we are spending and all that.
I would like to relate this with the rebate process. Whichever country is offering rebate, they definitely need to speak to their respective embassies and ask them to support us and the process of how you complete this circle. We just don't want to be kicked from one end to the other end. That's not my department. This is not our department. Whoever is processing the rebate has to have a policy of end-to-end solution from the time of we getting visas and going back. You guys are scared of we leaving our people behind and coming back to our country. No, that's not the intention. We are coming here to make the movie and go back. So we can come back and show back passport and all the stuff. But this is something, yes, rightly said, we need to pay attention on this topic very much. I'm running out of time. Yes, sure.
My name is Myra. Sorry for my voice. I'm line producer from Kazakhstan. I just to ask you some questions about ethics, your Indian companies working in other countries. Last year, one company from India, they started talking to me as a line producer, and there was another line producer, Manoj. She helped me. Manoj sir helped me to bring. They started working with me before. They made Reiki, and then they changed their mind. They found another line producer. And then that line producer failed, and they came back to me to help them. And about ethics of working in other countries, it's a responsibility from your side, I think, as well.
See, your work speaks it all. They came back to you. So that's a good thing. Fantastic job you have done. So they came back to you. Number two, these things will keep happening in any business all over the world. what I would say is you probably have to sign up your agreement before you initiate your talks and everything. What happens as an individual line producer, even I would like to have the best of productions coming and working with me, but we need to make our terms and conditions very clear with our producers, vice versa. You know, if your costs are more than your competitor, obviously they will look for another competitor work. You know, I have my summarize will be, you have to make your terms and conditions very clear before you pick up a project. Thank you guys. Thank you very much. Sorry we ran out of time. Thank you.